While I was editing my video for the second half of Miranda and Che's terrible relationship, I mentioned how women can often find themselves trapped when dealing with heterosexual men who are hiding their nefarious intentions. Because marriage largely benefits men more than women, the dynamics are usually lopsided and women can find themselves experiencing more long-term unhappiness than they would if they were single. This is unfortunately the case for one of Carrie's friends in the show, the scene-stealing wonder that is Susan Sharon. Sadly, her abusive relationship with her husband is how Carrie introduces her to the audience.
2 years ago, my friend, Susan Sharon, married a very mean man.
What did I tell you about listening to my CDs? You put Natalie Imbruglia back, and you too!
Now I only see her once or twice a year.
Another wealthy friend of Carrie's, Susan invites Carrie back to her and her husband's home to give her a birthday gift. Carrie asks if she can return the gift for cash, and Susan makes a joke which causes the two to begin laughing. Unfortunately, this wakes up Richard, Susan's diminutive, irate partner who works odd hours.
What was our agreement about visitors after 9 p.m.?
I know, it's just that it's her birthday.
I'm on London time! I gotta be up in 3 hours when the market's open, so I'd really appreciate it if you take the noise somewhere else!
He immediately begins barking at Susan and also yells at Carrie to leave.
Can I be?
Get the out of my house!
When Carrie arrives home, Susan calls her to vent about her situation.
I'm so embarrassed. It was classic Richard. Tyrannical, emotionally abusive. I don't know what to do anymore.
While she's on the phone, she is petrified of possibly waking up Richard again, and when it seems that he's close to reawakening, she immediately terminates the phone call.
He's sleep deprived, blah, blah, blah. I don't give a shit. What would you do if you were with a guy like that? Would you leave?
You know, things didn't change.
They haven't, and they won't. I gotta go.
Later, Susan announces that she's leaving Richard and needs a place to crash in the meantime.
I told Richard I couldn't spend another day married to a man who behaves like an utter asshole. Do you mind if I stay at your place tonight?
Susan is slowly adjusting to the single life, meeting Charlotte's new dog and hanging with Carrie on her birthday. While at the birthday bash, she begins talking to one of Big's friends, Max. However, Max isn't the friendliest person and unknowingly pushes Susan to reconsider the divorce.
I don't know if I can deal with being single all over again. I mean, it's not like every relationship doesn't have its ups and downs, you know? It's just that my husband and I, we work very hard, and we probably don't spend enough downtime together. It's just that I really never imagined myself as a divorcee, you know?
Do you ever shut the up?
Susan Sharon suddenly realized how much she desperately missed her husband.
Before this, Sharon told Carrie that Richard warned her that if she did go through with the divorce, she'd be single for the rest of her life while he'd remarry within a year.
All he'll feel for me is pity, because he'll be remarried within a year, and I'll be single for the rest of my life.
And because society has tricked women into thinking they are not complete without a partner, even an abusive one, Susan eventually decides that being with a man she's afraid of is better than re-entering the dating scene and possibly not getting married again.
He said to me that there was this moment during our wedding when he looked at me and he felt this huge wave of disappointment because I looked so generic.
We see at the end of the episode that she is now happily back with Richard with a new addition and an even darker layer to Susan Sharon's arc. Charlotte, earlier, had decided to get a pet to distract her from the horrors of perpetual singleness. However, she clearly did not do enough research on how to properly care for a dog, so instead of at least giving it to the Humane Society, she gave it to Susan, who shares a home with an abuser. Considering Richard's quick temper and unwillingness to compromise, what do you think would happen to this poor pup when Richard discovers a chewed-up pair of shoes, or poop that Susan didn't clean up in time?
Shut up!
Overall, the awful message of this episode is clear that it's better to be in an abusive relationship than to not be in one at all. Considering that Susan is afraid of her husband and has now subjected an innocent dog to his vitriol, it's pretty safe to say that this is one of the darkest moments on the show. The girls attend the funeral of a fashion designer in season 2. Charlotte isn't wearing any of the designer's clothing, so Samantha offers her a hat which blows off of her head during an unfortunate bout with the wind. Her hat flies towards a man at a neighboring grave mourning his wife.
She loved hats. It's fitting, really.
Your mother?
My wife.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Thanks.
kids?
Nope.
It's just a drink. He works on the same block as my gallery.
Charlotte is impressed with her potential new boyfriend, who seems to be in touch with his emotions, and having been married already, thinks of him as bona fide marriage material.
I think that going through something like that makes him more sensitive. He's in touch with his emotions. It's kind of romantic. And think about it. He's been married. I mean, it shows he can commit.
After being invited back to his wife's grave for a memorial service, Charlotte learns the horrific truth.
Please tell me those are your sisters.
I don't have any sisters.
Charlotte realized she wasn't the only woman resuscitating Ned.
She is not the only woman that he's been seeing, and even worse, it seems he's been using his dead wife to pick up women. It is extremely predatory and manipulative for this man to play up his grief and put on a performance to ensure his entrance into prospective women's pants, and this works perfectly on Charlotte and the other women who are lined up to participate in his polyamorous fantasy.
Art, the Ivy League, the ex-wife wasn't even in the picture.
Is this her?
Yeah. Let's get out of here, okay?
I'm sorry. That was really thoughtless of me. I know this must be hard for you.
It's just a little weird talking about her on a date.
It's a beautiful night. Ned, are you okay?
Seeing Liz's picture and thinking about her, just, oh God, I'm sorry.
Here.
I'm just feeling so much right now.
Those were magic words to Charlotte's ears.
Oh.
Ned came back to life. Twice.
Another theory, what if he didn't even have a wife to begin with? What if this was an act concocted to take advantage of as many women's emotions and eventually build a harem based on grieving his wife? Realizing that this guy has been exploiting her kindness to get laid, Charlotte leaves, possibly saving herself from becoming victimized by one of the most sinister men we've seen on the show. Miranda begins dating a man later on in season 2 who shares her love of historical nonfiction. She even describes this first date as the best of her life.
On Tuesday night, Miranda and Jack had dinner. In the biography of her life, this would go down as the best first date in history.
She also discovers a hidden kink of his on this first date.
Someone might come by. We could get caught.
I know.
While she's uncomfortable with it at first, she eventually grows to like the excitement of possibly getting caught woohooing in public.
We've done it in the bathroom at Bond Street.
Oh, I just ate there.
The elevator at the Marriott Marquis, and a public restroom in Central Park.
How very George Michael of you.
During another one of their dates, Miranda is thrilled to finally have their woohoo take place in a bedroom.
To her surprise, Miranda had no trouble getting Jack to agree to make love in his bedroom that night.
Let's do it in bed.
But when his parents show signs of entering the room, Miranda is petrified.
Sound like they're coming in here. Are they coming in here?
Now, typically the parties in question would stop if it means they're about to be interrupted. Miranda's date doesn't. In fact, it seems that he's intent on being discovered by his parents, and even weirder, he actually finishes while staring at them. I have questions. It's obvious he's trying to prove something to them. Is this an extremely disturbing attempt to prove that he's not gay? Is it his way of lashing out at his abusive parents? Is he mimicking what he saw growing up to torment them? And why did Miranda have to become an unwilling participant in this psychological get-back? Miranda was entirely too creeped out by him and impossibly traumatized at the realization of being groomed into his perverted fantasy. I don't think there is ever enough emphasis on whatever mental illnesses that Carrie has, because on several occasions, she lets her intrusive thoughts drive her to the extremes. Case in point, her stalking proclivities. The first time we see this is when she's in her feelings about Big's ex-wife.
Threesomes? Ever done one?
Sure.
Really? With who?
My ex-wife.
You were married?
Yeah, I thought I told you.
No, you didn't.
Spurred by her friends, Carrie concocts an entire scenario in order to talk to her.
My plan was simple. I'd pitch her a steamy bodice-ripping paperback, which she'd probably reject, but at least I'd get 5 minutes face-to-face with her.
Carrie?
Then she goes to church to see Big and his mother, although she was told that it's a private event between just the two of them.
I want to go to church with you and your mommy. How about this Sunday?
It's just a private little thing my mother and I do, just the two of us.
Sunday morning, a time for rest, a time for relaxation, a time for spine. Oh, there they are.
We're out of here.
And that is our Lord and Savior.
You show up at church after I asked you not to. What are you trying to do, test me?
Later, after she runs into a woman who previously dated Aiden after he and Carrie broke up.
You're Carrie Bradshaw.
Yeah. Have we met?
I recognize you from your column.
Oh.
And I went out with Aiden right after you.
She hunts her down to convince her that she wasn't the bad guy in the relationship.
Tomorrow, we're gonna cruise the cute pretzel guys at the Village Square Market.
That Nina Katz face chick is now hitting a little too close to home. I want to find her and tell her my side of the breakup story.
Carrie? Okay, one more time, you are officially stalking me. Stalking me. Stalking me.
But the person who ultimately suffers the most from Carrie's overwhelming insecurities is Natasha. Carrie notoriously became Big's mistress in season 3, which Natasha was unfortunately the victim of. After catching Carrie in her house, she chased after her and ended up falling down a flight of stairs, breaking her tooth in the process. Carrie is dumbfounded at the thought of someone hating her for literally ruining their marriage.
Natasha left Big. Their marriage is over. She's back to working for Ralph Lauren.
I can't believe I'm responsible for breaking up their marriage.
And decides that she desperately needs to convince Natasha that she's not a bad person.
Natasha's desk, Kathy speaking.
Yes, I'd like to speak to Natasha, please. It's Carrie Bradshaw calling.
What's this regarding?
It's personal.
She's in a meeting.
Oh, I'll hold.
I don't mean to be rude, but you'll be holding forever.
7 unreturned phone calls, and still no response from Natasha.
She enlists Samantha's help to stalk Natasha so she can speak with her about what happened.
I asked Samantha's assistant to pump Natasha's assistant to find out where she was having lunch. I need to talk to you.
After Carrie attempts to apologize, Natasha finally gives Carrie a piece of her mind.
I'm sorry he moved to Paris and fell in love with me. I'm sorry that we ever got married. I'm sorry he cheated on me with you, and I'm sorry that I pretended to ignore it for as long as I did. I'm sorry I found you in my apartment, fell down the stairs, and broke my tooth. I'm very sorry that after much painful dental surgery, this tooth is still a different color than this tooth. Finally, I'm sorry that you felt the need to come down here. Now, not only have you ruined my marriage, you've ruined my lunch.
She thinks she'll never see her again after this, but then Big passes away and leaves Natasha $1 million.
I hereby make a bequest in the amount of $1 million to...
Natasha?
This sends Carrie's intrusive thoughts into overdrive, so what does she do? She starts stalking Natasha again.
The 6th stage of grief is stalking.
You sound a little wired.
I've been spiraling all day about him and Natasha.
I decided that the best way for me to just move past this is to look Natasha in the eye and just have a grown-up conversation. So I emailed her.
You did?
The first email that I sent bounced back because apparently she took some highfalutin job. So I emailed her at approximately 1:40 today and nothing, not a word. What kind of person doesn't respond to a grieving wife?
A busy one? Carrie, did you get any sleep at all last night?
No, of course not. I'm gonna DM her in case she didn't get my email. Oh my God, she just blocked me on Instagram. Tried to do this the dignified way.
You said the woman hiding in an SUV with tinted windows.
Well, she left me no choice. She blocked me on Instagram. I can't reach her through email. Hello, I'm here to see Natasha Mills.
Natasha has every right to file a restraining order or some sort of protective order against Carrie, who is harassing her at this point, but she doesn't. This leads to Carrie accidentally walking in on her in a Starbucks bathroom where they have their final confrontation.
I swear this was a total coincidence. I never imagined in a million years you'd be all the way up here. This isn't even your neighborhood. Yes, I also know where you live.
What the do you want from me?
Do you think maybe we could just talk just for a minute?
I don't have a minute. I cannot think about you anymore. I am done thinking about you.
Because the show is fiction, everything ends well, and Natasha even aids Carrie with the burn she suffered after spilling coffee on herself. But who is to say that she won't do this again? What if she runs into one of Natasha's exes who despises Carrie based on what Natasha told him about her? Will she again hunt her down to explain herself or apologize? Their arc seems to be neatly wrapped up in the reboot, but I sometimes wonder if Natasha has a slight paranoia about being hunted down by Carrie again, as if her tooth isn't a constant daily reminder of the pain that she put her through. Lexi Featherstone was introduced to the audience as a cautionary tale of what happens when you don't get married. A legendary party girl in the NYC scene, Lexi is boisterous, loud, and a little off-putting for the crowd at an upscale party that Carrie and Alexander Petrovsky were attending.
Carrie Bradshaw! Where the have you been hiding?
Lexi Featherstone was one of New York's legendary party girls who always ended up on page 6 because of her bar hopping and her bed hopping.
Bored of the guests, Lexi attempts to open a window so she can smoke a cigarette near it, a move that would ultimately contribute to her death.
Carrie, you have a lighter.
Oh, no, sorry, I don't smoke anymore.
Oh, f you.
After being scolded to not smoke in the apartment, Lexi gives her iconic last monologue decrying the sanitized state of New York City culture.
Could you keep it down? You keep it down. Geriatrics. Now, our hostess has already said there's no smoking. When did everybody stop smoking? When did everybody pair off? This used to be the most exciting city in the world, and now it's nothing but smoking near an open window. New York is over. No one's fun anymore. Whatever happened to fun? God, I'm so bored I could die.
Lexi rolls her ankle and falls out of the open window to her death. It's extremely disturbing when you realize that the entire party witnessed a death. Even more disturbing if any passersby saw her body on the sidewalk. What's even more odd is the reaction of Carrie and her friends when attending her funeral.
Stanley, the girl died. It's sad.
I'll say it's sad. The scandal of the New York social scene, and I missed it.
This funeral is better than Fashion Week.
I know. Marcus is saving us seats next to Hugh Jackman.
She was the it girl.
I thought I was the it girl. Well, it's your word against a dead girl's.
Ladies, if you are single in New York after a certain point, there is nowhere to go but down.
18 stories down, to be exact.
You guys, we're supposed to be in mourning.
Carrie and Lexi partied together during the former's formative years. She mentions how they both went to Tunnel, the same club where Carrie met a one-night stand who unknowingly got her pregnant.
Remember when we used to go to Tunnel? We were like 5.
I found myself back at a familiar crossroads, the corner of Columbus and 1988. Drunken night at Tunnel, Chad.
Despite the history between them, Carrie shows no emotion over the death of her friend. She actually thinks Lexi's perpetual singleness may have even contributed to it.
God, Carrie, I'm 40 years old. Can you fucking believe it? Don't answer that. I'm so glad to see you, though. We're the only 2 single girls here.
Actually, I'm with someone.
You.
I'm going to Paris.
That's so exciting! Good for you! Because you're afraid of going out a window?
The girls don't offer much sympathy either, preferring instead to congratulate Carrie for deciding to move to Paris with her boyfriend. Lexi Featherstone's controversial and shocking passing was treated as nothing more than a warning to Carrie that if she remained single, the same thing would unfortunately happen to her.